Hey everybody, how you doing? It's Rick Alaimo again. I'm back with Not an Option podcast. I want to thank everybody that joined in on the first episode. We hit our 200 view goal and it's still climbing. Thank you very much. My goal this week is to hit 400, so tell your friends, please. And let's try to share this thing and smash that subscribe button down at the bottom there. I want to make you subscribers so that I can hopefully grow this podcast. I don't know where it's going to go. Have no idea, but let's have some fun with it. The first episode, I talked a lot about business and construction. That's a very big, important part of my life, but I also want to share a personal side of my life, some stories that I've been through, some life lessons I've learned, some things that I've encountered. I've beat death more than most people have in their whole lifetime. I've beat it by the time I was 20 several times. I've lived a very good life. I've lived a very chaotic life. It's taught me a lot of life lessons. It's made me the person that I am. I'm very proud of who I am. I'm proud of what I've accomplished. I've done a lot in my life. Again, a lot of failures, a lot of successes. We're going to focus today on my younger life from the time I was about 12, 13 years old to about 20. I had a good life growing up when I was younger. Like I said, when I was about 8 years old, I had a sister. She passed away. Kind of changed my life a little bit. We went from living in a very good neighborhood of Chicago to one of the roughest parts of Chicago. And it actually made me a better person. People say wealth is having a lot of money. Well, that's being rich. And when you're rich, doesn't always make you happy anyway. And to me, wealth is being happy and content in your life, in your lifestyle, in your life choices, and being where you want to be. Some people's idea of being wealthy could be having a nice apartment, or it could be having a mansion, or it could be having food on their table. People are happy in different ways of life, and it doesn't make any one person better than the other. It makes everybody different, and it makes everybody enjoy their life in different ways. So I've had a lot of different stages of wealth. I've been dirt poor, but happy as can be with nothing, shooting basketballs at backboards made out of plywood with a milk crate in a back alley under a light that was flickering, playing baseball, in Chicago on empty lots, spray painting a square on the building and throwing fastballs. One of your friends pitches to you while the other guy's got a stick, or if we found a bat, and we would collect bottles and go bring the bottles back and go buy a baseball at the corner store, and then we'd hop the fence and then steal the same bottles and then bring those back again and get another baseball until the old guy got caught on that we kept bringing back the bottles that looked real familiar, and he told us to get out of here before he kicked our ass. And that was the way it was growing up in Chicago. We didn't have much, but we had fun, and we had a lot of fun. From the time I was 8, 9 years old, I was taking different CTA buses, which are public transportation, to go to school in a different school district, because I was the only Italian kid in my neighborhood, only white kid, and anything I had, jackets, shoes, hats, they jumped me for it. It wasn't fair fights one-on-one. It was me getting jumped by a group of guys and them taking whatever I had. And you learn to fight that way, and you learn to value your items and not give them up so easy. And when you take enough beatings, you learn to start hitting people back. And it made me the person I am today. I don't regret my life one bit. Like I said, I've cheated death more than most people have in 2 lifetimes. I've cheated death by the time I was 20, and thank God I'm still here. He has a plan for me. That's why I thank God every day for what I have, what I've had in the past, what I have now, and hopefully what's to come for me, But again, I'm not betting on the come. I'm taking every day by day. I'm planning out my goals, planning out my future, And whatever comes to fruition is going to be from hard work and determination. And, I learned at a young age, living in Chicago, that life isn't easy, but life is what you make it. And we made it fun. We had our bicycles and we would ride our bikes to the lake. 10, 20 miles away, we'd ride our bikes, and we wouldn't be home. We'd leave early in the morning and get home before the street lights came on, because when those street lights came on, that meant you better have your ass back inside. That's your mom's rule, And if one of your neighbors saw you messing up or not home on time, your neighbors were like family. They had the permission from your parents to kick your ass, and it was a cool way to grow up. It was fun. It was a family. Everybody knew each other. Your best friends and their parents were not your friends. They were your cousins and your aunts and uncles. Everybody was family. Everybody cooked. Everybody cooked out. Everybody hung out together. We had a lot of fun growing up. I was 13 years old, and I was living a life of a 20-year-old. We had an incident at my house where a drunk gang member in the area drove his car into our garage and fence and damaged it. And the guy was in his 20s, and this is all in my book. You know what? Here's a good time to tell you about my book. Not an Option. Available on Amazon. Not trying to tell you to buy it. Again, just showing you everything that I'm talking about, or a lot of things that I'm talking about are in this book. This goes through the younger part of my life of what we're going to cover today and what we're going to talk about today. Some of it. A lot of stuff is in here. It's a good book. And like I said, if you want to check it out, it's on Amazon. It's called Not an Option. My author name is Frank Antonio. And check it out. It's a good read. And again, the name of this podcast is Not an Option Podcast. So hit that subscribe button. Yeah. All right. I'll get back to my story now. So I'm 13 and I live a life of a 20-year-old. And what happened was, when that drunk gang member hit our garage and our fence, we went running to the back of the house. And it was me and my dad. And there was a car buried in our garage, tore down our back fence. And there was another guy in the car in the passenger seat. He was young, 15-year-old, real quiet to himself. Kept his composure through this whole thing. The guy that hit the fence got out. He was drunk and belligerent and was talking shit. And my dad went out there. And now my dad was a Golden Gloves boxer in the Army. My dad's 6'3". He's always been 250 pounds plus, strong as an ox, and nobody fucked with him. Well, this guy must not have got the memo that you don't do that with my dad, and he chose to confront my dad after he hit our garage. So the guy was trying to have words with my dad. My dad told him to fix that he better be able to fix the garage. The guy made a mistake and told my dad, fuck you. My dad dropped him, knocked him out. Me and my dad were stomping this guy on the ground. I'm 13 years old, kicking this guy because my dad hit him. It was just the way I was trained by my father and by the environment was, if your family's in a fight, you get in there and you make sure that you help them out. And that's what I did, So I'm 13. I'm kicking this guy. My dad's stomping this guy. And all of a sudden, this 15-year-old guy gets out of the car. And, we'll call him Sam. So Sam gets out of the car. And he looks over at us. And he's like, hey, stop hitting that guy. And we're like, who the fuck are you? My dad tells him. And he's like, I'm the guy that's going to get your fence fixed in your garage if you stop hitting him. That's one of my guys, and I can't let you do that. Now, remember, this kid was 15 years old, covered in tattoos, earrings, thigh length leather jacket, leather gloves on. and just looked like a young adult, but was only like 15 years old and composed himself like a young adult, and just a real tough guy. So my dad's like, who the fuck are you? And he's like I told you, I'm the guy that's going to get your fence fixed and your garage. Now stop hitting my guy. So we stop hitting the guy. My dad and Sam talk a little bit, and they come to an agreement that Sam agreed to fix the garage. Well, long story short, I'll get into it. The garage got fixed. I would go out there and help Sam fix the garage and the fence. And to this day, I talk to Sam a couple times a week. I wound up making him my godfather by confirmation. Italians are Catholic. We have what's called communion, baptism, communion, and confirmation. Confirmation, you can pick another godparent. You know, your parents assign you a godparent at birth. You can pick your godparent at confirmation. So I picked Sam. And the reason I picked Sam was I was about 12 or 13 when I met him at that incident. Me and him became friends. He took me under his wing. My dad wasn't around because of what happened with my sister. He was on his own journey of doing some bad things and wasn't really in the picture too much. Like I said, great guy, just was going through some bad times. But Sam, he took me under his wing and he raised me. And with Sam, I was introduced to a whole new world of people. I was fitting in at 13 years old with 20 and 30-year-old people. It was crazy. It was like surreal. And I'm hanging out and what I learned from that was I learned how to adapt in environments in my life now with my social life and with business. It doesn't matter if someone's dirt poor. It doesn't matter if they're the guy shoveling dog shit, or it doesn't matter if they're the CEO of a big corporation. I can blend in with people from those experiences. I can maintain conversations. I can fit in all different types of scenarios, which is a huge asset in business when you can fit into different scenarios and with different types of people. That you can fit in with mature, business-minded people. You can fit in with the neighborhood thugs. You can fit in with the neighborhood gangbangers, genders, and different statuses in life. And I've learned that through those experiences because it's not just about being at those house parties. I mean, from that, I just learned how to become a mature person, because when you're hanging around 20 and 30-year-olds, they don't want to have some young kid pestering them. They don't want to have some 13-year-old there that's a pain in the ass. I was the 13-year-old that if I wasn't there one night, Sam was telling me that they were asking for me. Where was I? Where am I? They like me. Why ain't I there? Go get me. Because I wasn't a pain in the ass. And that's a big deal in life and in business. Like I said, I was kind of mature beyond my years out of default because I had to be. And I appreciate that. I'm glad I was. I'm glad I'm the way I am with that. I've always been the kid or the person that you only had to tell something to once. And I was a steel trap. I remembered it. I didn't talk about anything I seen. I didn't brag to my friends about things I was doing. Nobody knew I was at those house parties. None of my friends at school, nobody. I was there. I did what I did. And that's part of maturity, is not telling everybody all your moves, all your plays, everything you're doing. Keeping things to yourself, Don't let everybody see you coming. You got to have some mystery to yourself. You got to have, some type of presence about you where people wonder, what is this kid all about? What is this guy all about? And that's what I had to me. I had that kind of swagger. I had that kind of mystery. And it intrigued people older than me because I fit in with them. And it, like I said, it wasn't just at those house parties. I mean, when I was like 9 or 10 years old, I used to sit on my dad's lap when he would have big card games, and I would play his hands with him. And I learned how to play poker at 9 and 10 years old. By the time I was 12, 13 years old, I had a seat at those poker tables with grown men playing for money. I would get money that I've had from, like birthdays and stuff like that, and I would play with it, and I would win at 12, 13 years old. Not only was I playing poker games, I'd go, when I started working, like at early age, like I said, I've been working since I was 12 years old. I'd have my paycheck at the end of the week. Wasn't much, but I'd go with my dad, and we'd go in the garages in Chicago on Fridays. Everybody was drinking and doing whatever. I wasn't drinking with my dad. He didn't let me do any of that stuff. But I'd shoot dice with the older guys for their paychecks. We'd be playing, and everybody's playing for money. I remember one night at 13 years old, I won $700. And this is back in the 90s. That's a lot of money. I had a bunch of 30-year-olds that wanted to kick my ass, but they wanted their money back. Some 13-year-old just took their rent money. And thank God I had my dad there, because nobody fucked with my dad. But, I started doing those things at a young age, gambling and interacting with older people in different environments and different scenarios. The life lessons it taught me was just how to be mature and how to adapt to my environment and how to adapt to my situations. I can sit down, and I have throughout my whole life. I can be in a room full of the most ruthless, murdering gang members. I can be in a room full of executive CEOs of corporations and companies, and I can fit in everywhere. And I really have always, I don't want to say admired, because that's the wrong word to use about yourself. I've really been proud of that. I've really been proud that I can do that. And it's a talent that's made me successful in life. My dad taught me that. He taught me how to be a man. He taught me how to be a tough guy. My grandfather taught me how to be a tough guy, how to be a man. One of the greatest things I ever did, my grandfather, rest his soul, my dad's father, he died really young of emphysema. But I was able to spend the last few months of his life with him. He needed round-the-clock care. And like I said, he never learned how to read or write. He came here from Sicily in 3rd grade, and he hustled his whole life and got connected with some of the right people and was in some of the right organizations, and did things his way and made a great life for him and his family. Owned a home, always owned a Cadillac or a Lincoln. And I thank God that the last few months of his life, I was able to move in with him and help provide him with that round-the-clock care that he needed. And man, the life stories and the lessons I learned from that man, it's invaluable. The stuff that man taught me in those few months. I mean, growing up, he was always like, big, mean grandpa, don't piss him off, he'll kick your ass. But when I got to see him in a frail state where he was on his way out the door and he needed my help, the compassion that I showed him was given back to me by him. And I learned so much from that man in those short few months. And it was invaluable. And I cherish those moments. I will never forget those moments. That man told me some stories that he did. I'll give you a quick synopsis. If someone was boosting trucks and selling the merchandise, my grandfather was the fence. He was the middle guy on it. So they got the stolen stuff. It went to my grandfather. He got someone to buy it. That man never had to pay for groceries, clothes, food, ever a day in his life. All the police, all the people around respected him. Everyone knew who he was. Yeah, what I learned from that man was invaluable. And that man never had to pay for groceries or clothes, food, anything in his life, because he had the guys that were getting the stuff taking care of him, and he had the people in the stores he was selling it to back then taking care of him. So he walked into any store he was getting that merchandise to for 50 cents on the dollar. They didn't charge him. He was very respected and feared in life. That man did a lot of stuff. He took care of a lot of people. He also did what he had to do to make his mark in this world and let people know they had to fear him. And I learned at a young age to make people fear and respect me from my grandfather and my dad. I learned later in life from my wife, my mother, and other positive influences. I met kind of business mentors that I really think highly of. Guys that have helped me out financially, guys that have helped me out with learning how to take care of business. I learned to be loved and respected. There's one particular guy in my life that's always been there for me. I met at a young age, and this guy's been amazing throughout my life. His name is Hans, and he's one of my biggest role models as a person that taught me, just from being around the man. Everyone loves this guy. And I learned both sides of the fence. I learned from my dad and my grandfather and Sam, everybody better fear and respect you. And then I also learned from Hans and my mom, my grandmother, and other people to be loved and respected. But the key word in both of those are, you have to be respected. People have to respect you. If they don't respect you, they walk all over you. If they don't respect you, they take advantage of you. And that's the life lesson I learned from these stories, is whether you're loved, feared, hated, at the end of the day, you have to be respected. And you have to give back that respect. You have to treat the janitor the same way you treat a CEO of a company. You have to give that same respect if you want that respect. But you earn that respect. And when you earn that respect, they damn sure better give you that respect. Remember those words. Not being respected, again, is not an option. Give and receive respect, and demand respect. The next thing I'm going to talk about is resilience and perseverance. From the time I was like 15 or 16 till about 19, I had been faced with more adversity and near-death experiences, and I overcame them. When I was 16, I'll never forget, I was on a motorcycle and I was headed to work I worked at a hardware store, part-time, because I got a discount for materials for my construction jobs with my dad. And I was on my way to work on this motorcycle, and this car came around a curve too fast. I wasn't even old enough to be on a motorcycle. Actually, it wasn't even my motorcycle. I was using someone's motorcycle. And a car came around a curve too fast and hit me. I went like Superman. I flew through the lanes of traffic, and I hit the embankment on the side of the road. The front tire hit the embankment. The back end of the bike came up, hit me right in my face, broke my jaw. I wound up hitting the embankment with my back flat, broke 3 vertebrae in my back, bounced onto the road, into the oncoming traffic, and I laid there, and I was knocked out. I was unconscious. And while I was laying there, some people stopped the cars. Nobody went and chased the lady that hit me because everyone thought I was dead. So everybody stopped to check on me. And I'm laying in the middle of the road, And I'll never forget, some lady, I guess, came and woke me up, and she's like, honey, are you okay? And my adrenaline kicked in, and I got up and I started running down the road. And she's like, honey, where are you going? And I said, I got to get to work. And she's like, no, you get today off. So I was like, okay, boop. And I passed out again. I passed out. They called in the ambulance, and the Flight for Life came, and the helicopter and all that stuff. And I'll never forget, I was on the gurney, and the lady picked up my cell phone. I had my cell phone with me, and it was on the road. And she hit the last number that I had called, and it happened to be my mother, and told my mother that I had just been in this terrible accident. So I'll never forget, this is how great my mom is. I was laying on this gurney, and the ambulance drivers are talking to me, and I'm becoming more and more coherent, but I can't move. I can't move my feet. I can't move my legs. I was paralyzed from the waist down. And I was scared shitless. I couldn't feel anything. I couldn't move anything. I'm laying on this gurney, and they're asking me, is there anyone you want us to call to meet us at the hospital, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, and all of a sudden I hear, and this isn't a matter of like 10 minutes, I hear, get the fuck out of my way, that's my son. My mom's yelling at some cop trying to stop her from coming in by the accident. And I'm like, no, don't worry, she's here already. And my mother got there so fast because she was so scared for my life. And the fear that poor woman had to be going through, because I was going through it with my back broken and no feeling. Long story short, I went to the hospital. I had fractured some vertebrae in my back, and the swelling was so bad it was pinching the nerve in my back. So when they got the swelling to go down, I got the feeling back in my legs. I wasn't paralyzed. I wound up having to wear a full body cast, and it was from my neck. No, it was from my torso. It was from like my shoulders down to my thighs. So I couldn't bend over. I couldn't sit. I had to stand. I had to lay. That was all I could do, was stand up or lay down. I couldn't take this metal body cast off that I had. And the reason I'm telling you this story isn't to talk about the accident. It's to tell you about the good people in my life. It's to tell you about perseverance. It's to tell you about not giving up. Most people would have gave up. Or most people would have been like, not thrown in the towel, but not worked as hard as I did. I worked my ass off to get back on my feet. Every single day, Sam came to my house and he worked with me in the pool. He taught me how to walk again in the pool. I was 17 or 16. I was 16 or 17 years old. I don't remember how old I was when it happened, but I was walking with a cane, and I used to have to walk with a cane at 16. So embarrassing. And I used to always wear big shirts so I could cover this big stupid brace so no one seen it on me when I was walking around. But I had to walk with a cane because I had no feeling in my back, and I couldn't. My back was messed up. It was really bad. So another situation that happened from there was, we were in a car one time, and one of my cousins was driving the car, and my sister was in the front seat, my younger sister, and I was in the back seat, and I'm laying down on the back seat because I couldn't sit real good. I was, not able to sit, so I was kind of laying on an angle in the back seat. Well, this car full of football players cuts us off. And my cousin beeps at them, and they wind up giving the finger, and they both pull over. My cousin gets out, and he's holding the door with his hand between him and one of these big football players, this big white guy. And this big white guy is, motherfucker, I'll kick your ass. Get out of the car, I'll kick you. Come on, get around that door, I'll kick your ass. I'm sitting in the back seat, and the way I was raised, you don't argue, you don't talk. You hit that guy, you knock him out, or you drop him. You don't do the high school girl arguing. It's just not an option. You don't do that. You don't bicker with somebody. Either you fight or you shut the fuck up, get back in the car, and let's go. So they're arguing, and I got tired of hearing it. So I open the door and I get out of the car and I got the back brace covered by a t-shirt and I got my cane hidden. I'll never forget this. And the reason I'm telling you this is perseverance and not being afraid of anything and doing whatever you got to do to survive. So I get out of the car and I tell my cousin, would you hit this fucking guy already? Let's go. Come on already. Stop arguing. Well, now I get the attention of the big football player and his two buddies now are out of the car. He's like, oh, you want to hit me, tough guy? Come on, tough guy, you hit me. So I blow him a kiss. I was like, come on, big guy, come over here. We come over here and let's talk. And he's like, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you. I was like, come over here, let's talk, because I couldn't walk too good. I had a cane. So I'm inviting him over to come fight me on the other side of the car. Well, this guy goes into a dead run. He starts running at me from around the car. I had the cane hidden. All of a sudden, I said, I'll kill you, you motherfucker. And I crack him with the cane right across the head. And he goes flying backwards, bleeding from his head. And I remember hobbling after him with my cane. I'm swinging my cane, trying to beat the shit out of this guy with my cane. And he's hobbling, he's crawling back to his car. I can't catch him. This guy's crawling. I can't even catch him. I can't walk. So he's getting to the car. I remember it was like a cartoon. The fat guy that was with him jumps through the passenger windows and his 2 feet are kicking like this, trying to get in the car away from me. And they take off. And I looked at my cousin. I was like, what the fuck were you arguing with him so much for? He's like, oh man, I was just about to hit him when you hit him. And the reason I'm telling the story, one, because it's kind of funny, but two is my cousin had a choice that day. And he put my sister in danger with picking a fight with someone he really didn't want to fight with. And I had to clean the mess up. And you don't want to be the guy that creates the mess. You want to be the guy that either avoids the mess or cleans the mess up. And I had to clean the mess up because he chose to not finish what he started. As soon as he gave that guy the finger and swore at him and told him to pull over, he invited a situation. And when that situation came to him, he backed down. Where we come from, you don't back down. You don't walk away. You don't show fear. And you definitely don't do that with my sister in the car, my younger baby sister. So I cleaned that mess up for him. And that's what I want to tell you, the life lesson is, don't provoke situations. Don't always have to be the tough guy. You don't always have to invite the bad situations. He invited a bad situation that he really wanted no part of. And when the bad situation came to him, he really didn't know how to handle it. And I got lucky. Those 3 guys could have beat the shit out of me if I didn't have that cane. But I got lucky. I took care of it and the situation went away. But I never would have put myself or anyone in that situation knowing what I know now, knowing what I've been through in life. Have I done stuff like that? Of course, everyone has. Everyone's made mistakes. And what I'm trying to teach everyone here on this story is try to avoid altercations. Try to avoid bad interactions. I had to learn very late in life. I'm 47 years old, and I probably learned this when I was about 45 years old, about 2 years ago. You're not a sissy if you walk away from a fight. You're not weak if you walk away from a challenge. You're not weak if you choose to take the high road and not put others that are with you into a bad situation. And I've done that my whole life. I've sometimes put people around me in tricky situations because I thought I was weak my whole life if I didn't engage the problem. And I've learned now, sometimes it's better to walk away from the problem and be the bigger person. And that's important because it saves you a lot of money in fucking lawyers and court and jail. I mean, they don't mess around anymore, man. You do some of the stuff we did back then, all the cameras and technology and social media, you're going to jail. We didn't have all these cameras, so none was recorded. It was our word against theirs. You young guys, you don't have that luxury. You got cameras everywhere. People, world star, all that bullshit. You're going to jail. So learn it's okay to walk away. Don't let anybody disrespect you. If they want to call your mom a name, if they want to tell you you're a piece of shit, if they want to call you an asshole, fuck them. They're just words. They're probably scared of you. That's why they're talking so much. Keep your mouth shut. Just look at them. Let them know you're not scared. But don't ever let them put their hands on you. I tell my kids this, and I'll tell all of you that. If you feel that person gets within your 3-foot safety zone, you crack him. If that person comes and touches you, you beat the shit out of him. But don't start the fight. Don't be a bully. Don't challenge people unnecessarily and put other people that are with you at risk. It's not a good look. It's not a good thing to do. And it took me 45 years to learn it. So if anyone's watching this podcast, please just walk away sometimes. It's better. It's cheaper. It's safer. You go to sleep at night in your bed, not in some jail cell. It's a better way to be. Another thing that happened to me in my young age, I was playing football. I was recruited by many high schools to play linebacker, and I had full ride scholarships to play at some, high profile schools. And for me, coming from the ghetto, to be able to go to a high profile school, that was huge. No scholarship, free ride. My parents didn't have to come up with no money that we didn't have. But I was the guy that I like to hit. I like to tackle. I like to do that. And my coach used to use me to teach kids a lesson. And I'll never forget this. There was a kid being lazy, a big lineman. And my coach wanted me to teach him a lesson in a hitting drill. And it was that same nutcracker drill. And I got up fast and I got to him quick. And he didn't get up as fast as I did. And he got scared. And he lifted his hand up and caught me underneath my helmet. And my helmet pinched a nerve in my neck. And I went completely limp. I lost all movement of my arms, my legs. From my neck down, I had no movement. Pinched a nerve in my neck. And long story short, I went to the hospital and got the feeling back. Same thing, they muscle relaxers and whatever. They had to relieve the pressure from the nerve. And I got my feeling back. But no doctor would ever sign off on me playing the sport I love. Football was the sport I loved. I died for that sport. I put it on the line all the time for that sport. I've been playing my whole life, and that's all I wanted to do was play football. I liked basketball. I liked baseball. I liked other sports. I liked hockey. But football was my thing. Football was where I had a real shot at becoming something. And to be told I could never play again really deflated me. And I cried and I cried. And, my parents took me to some of the best doctors. And my mom took me to go see, remember the guy Harry Carey that sings Take Me Out to the Ball Game for the Cubs? We went to go see his doctor and met him in the elevator, actually. It was pretty cool. And went and seen his doctor. And the doctor told me that injury is too easy to re-injure at that part of your neck. You're not able to play ever again. No doctor's ever going to sign off on that. You're done with football. And my point of the story is I could have thrown in the towel. I could have gave up. I could have just been sad and cried about it. What did I do? My little brother was playing football. So I chose, instead of crying and feeling bad for myself, I chose to go coach. I was the youngest coach out there. I was 17 years old, still in high school, and I started coaching. And I started coaching with two of the greatest guys, Al and Jimmy. And they taught me a lot about coaching. And I was so close to the age of these kids I was coaching, I had a great bond. Well, I wound up coaching football for 20 years. Won national championships, won division championships, won Midwest titles. I coached some of the greatest kids in the world. I mean, the kids I coach, they're like my children. All of them. To this day, I could still call them for anything. They can call me for anything. I'm friends with all of them on Facebook. I love these guys. They're young men. They have their own kids now. I've watched hundreds of kids grow up. And my point is, I didn't throw in the towel because that's not how I'm built. How I'm built is to adapt and overcome, because failure is not an option. Well, that's a lot of stories. I feel like Mother Goose over here with all my stories I'm telling you, but I think some of them are kind of funny. Some of them are kind of entertaining. I hope you were entertained by some of them. If you liked some of the stories, if you want to hear more stuff, if you want to send over some comments of stuff you'd like me to talk about, man, I want some interaction. Please talk to me. Tell me if you like what you're hearing, if you don't like what you're hearing, if I'm rambling on like a muttering idiot. Tell me what you think about this podcast. I really want this to be, a direct in your, a no BS podcast. I just want it to be, a straight shooting podcast. And please, if you like what you're hearing and you like everything that you see, please hit that subscribe button. Tell your friends about it. Let's help me build this thing. And put in the comments some topics you want to talk about or other things you might want to hear about, or if you got any questions. I would love to hear comments of stuff you'd like me to talk about on there. I would love to have more comments and definitely more subscribers, and please more views. We hit 200 in a few days. That was our goal for the week. Thank you very much. That's to all of you. I appreciate that. My goal this week is 500. The lady that records my podcast wants 400, but I'm an overachiever. I want 500. So help me get to 500, because we're going to make this thing work. I'm having fun with this. Let's do this. All right. And remember, failure, giving up, and not succeeding in life is not an option.